Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 491. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today's show topic is titled, How to Solve the Black Unemployment Problem. And we're going to dive in and discuss and dissect an actual excerpt from Dr. George Fraser as he talked about Black unemployment and how through entrepreneurship we can actually solve this problem. Now, before we get to today's content, let me share a few things with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and resource links, such as the link to my latest book, Unlocking the Power of ChatGPT, the Ultimate Prompting Handbook for Beginners. You can go to Unlocking ChatGPT for more information. Also, don't forget BEB Academy, which is our online learning portal. You can get 3 days free access to the Academy. Just go to the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. Look at the top of the website and hit subscribe, and you'll get 3 days free access to our online learning portal, which has all types of master classes, online courses, PDF downloads, and resources to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. And lastly, several BEB family members reached out to me in reference to the promo I had going on for my Brand Builder Academy Elite program, which is our flagship e-commerce program. Now, if you're interested in building a successful, sustainable e-commerce business, be it physical products or digital products, this is the flagship program, pound for pound, the best program on the market. We had a promo going on several weeks ago, and I want to continue that promo if you're still interested. I know several people, as I mentioned, had reached out to me. So go to the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. At the top of the site, you'll see a link for Brand Builder Academy Elite. Now, normally it's $497 for the program, but I'm doing a holiday promo, and your investment will only be $97. So when you go and click on the link, it's going to take you to the registration page. Now use the coupon code HOLIDAY in small letters, HOLIDAY in small letters, and you'll save $400 off the promo. I'm only giving away 5 more of these coupons, so make sure you're one of the first 5. And I also sent out an email to the people that reached out to me that wanted to extend the promo. So once again, if you're interested in making money with passive income with e-commerce, go to the website, blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, hit on Brand Builder Academy Elite. You'll see everything you need to know. There's a video and there's an outline, and it's going to teach you how to build a successful, sustainable e-commerce business that can create passive income. And quite frankly, guys, it can literally change your life. So use the promo code HOLIDAY, all lowercase letters. Now, let's get ready for today's show. Today, we're going to discuss how entrepreneurship affects the Black unemployment problem. Now, today's show is based on an excerpt I heard from Dr. George Fraser on Instagram, and he was talking about Black unemployment versus entrepreneurship. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Dr. George Fraser, he's actually the CEO and chairman of Fraser Net Inc. and the publisher of Success Guide Worldwide. Now, when it comes to Black economics, Dr. George Fraser is one of the OGs in the area. I was blessed to be able to interview him on one of my first episodes almost 10 plus years ago. So make sure you guys check out Dr. George Fraser, Fraser. When I do live appearances and speeches and talks, I always like to start off with the foundation of facts. So the first thing I want to do is give you some statistics when it comes to black unemployment. Now, according to a recent study by the Economic Policy Institute for the third quarter unemployment statistics for 2023, so this is very recent, third quarter unemployment stats for 2023, whites nationally are unemployed at 3%. Hispanics nationally are unemployed at 4.6%, and blacks nationally are unemployed at 5.9%. Now, 5.9% is almost 2 times that of whites who are at 3% unemployment. And that therein lies the problem. What we're going to do now is we're going to listen to an excerpt from Dr. George Fraser as he talks about unemployment in the black community. And then we're going to discuss it and dissect it. And I'm going to give you guys some solutions to help us be able to reduce this unemployment in our community. Now, here's Dr. Fraser.
Jews are the number one employer of Jews. Asians are the number one employer of Asians. East Indians are the number one employer of East Indians. Arabs are the number one employer of Arabs. And every immigrant group that has ever come to this country understands this but us. We too, ultimately, within the next 100 years, must become the number one employer of our own people. The Asian population has solved their own unemployment problem by one simple thing: Chinese restaurants. You ever go into a Chinese restaurant, which are all over America and especially where we live, and be served by anything other than a Chinese person? In fact, if you go into a Chinese restaurant and there are 4 brothers working in there, leave.
So that's Dr. George Fraser's take on black unemployment. And he has a little levity there at the end, but it's true. How many black folk do you see working in many of these other ethnic restaurants? And the answer is probably 0 to a very low percentage. And if so, then our position probably is going to be somewhere in the kitchen or a busboy or something of that nature. So we're going to dissect and discuss this today. And I'm going to ask you guys several questions. Do you understand the importance of what he's saying? Why don't we help ourselves since we have all the tools? And what will it take to bring the solution to fruition? And how can you personally, not as a group, but how can you individually help to do this? The first question I want to pose to you is, do you understand the importance of what Dr. Fraser is saying? And I want to pose this question because many times we only look at things on the surface. We don't use that third eye. We don't delve deep into the actual situation. And I know most of us are out here just trying to maintain, make a living for ourselves and be happy, right? And I get it, been there, done that. But do you understand the importance of what he's saying? And I want to hit a couple of points about this. So what does this do to our community, right? When our unemployment is at a point where it's almost twice as high as white unemployment. It holds us back, and basically, guys, it makes us dependent on others. So we're waiting for somebody else to give us a job. When a lot of other minorities, and obviously we all start from different places, a lot of other minorities come in and understand that if they want something, they're going to have to create it. You see, we've been assimilated so much that instead of going out and creating our own thing, we just jump into the system. And then when the system doesn't treat us like we wanted to, we get upset. And we're going to get into that more a little later. Another thing I want to point out is it puts us in the role of servitude and keeps us on the bottom of the economic totem pole. So when somebody else pays you, they control you. I did an episode about this probably about a year ago. Whoever pays you controls you. So you're in a position or role of servitude. And many times, unfortunately, there's a glass ceiling. There's a good old boy network that's not going to allow you to play in the field of meritocracy, meaning that many times you're not going to be able to get the promotions based on your skills and qualifications because the game is rigged. Okay, we all know that. I'm not even going to get into that. That's a whole separate issue. But it's corporate politics. Another point I want to talk about when I asked, do you understand the importance of what he's saying, is we can't create an economic power base, guys, without economic empowerment starting from the ground floor. Economics controls everything. I want you guys to understand that. Okay, economics controls everything. Economics controls politics, right? Politicians make policies. Those policies may be good for you. Those policies may be bad for you. Now, you may ask, how does economics control politics? It's a good old boy pay for play policy. So what happens is, while we're running around worrying about dumb stuff and telling people not to vote because it won't make a difference, you have these political action committees that are gathering money, they're gathering funds, they're gathering constituents, and they go and they talk to these politicians and they fund these politicians, and then they say, hey, this is what we need you to do, or you're not going to get our money or our support. So now these politicians are beholden to these political action committees. Now, I've used this example many times before, but I'm going to continue to use it because not all of you have heard all of the shows, right? So when Grandma bought a house in North Philly 60 years ago for $20,000, and now this political action committee decides that this part of North Philly will just use Northern Liberties, which is really just North Philly with a new name. The political action committee wants to do development there. So what do? They go and they grease the palms of the local politicians and council members to create an economic empowerment zone. And now in that zone, they're going to build condos. They're going to build all types of retail locations and everything. So that $20,000 house that your grandmom and grandpa bought 60 years ago is now worth $200,000. But guess what? The taxes now are going to go up, and they're going to make it so that even though your grandparents have paid that house off free and clear, they're not going to be able to pay the taxes, because the taxes went from $3,000 a year up to $20,000 a year. And on that fixed income, grandmom and grandpa aren't going to be able to pay it. So guess what happens? They either have to sell their house or they lose their house. This is how economics controls politics. So all of you guys out there talking this dumb stuff, and yeah, I said dumb, about not voting, if you don't vote for your local elections, I don't know what to tell you. It's the dumbest thing I ever heard. I hear you if you're talking about presidential and all that stuff, but your local elections directly affect you. Okay? So when we're talking about, do you understand the importance of what George Fraser is saying? And I'm just giving you the basis of why economics is so important by creating an economic power base. So once again, economics controls politics, which controls policy. Economics controls media. These are the narratives, the things that we see. Do we like what we see when our narratives are portrayed on TV? Economics controls education. Are you happy with your children's schooling? Does your kid's school match up to the school in the next town that has all the new computers, all the new books, the new building, and your kids are going to school in asbestos with not enough computers and crappy food? Economics controls, and economics also controls healthcare. Are your people getting the same type of healthcare and treatment as others? So economics controls everything. So I want you to understand the importance of what Dr. George Fraser is saying when it comes to entrepreneurship. When you build a strong entrepreneurial community, not only can you help with the unemployment, but you're building an economic power base. Another point that I want to make is the result in not doing this will continue to strengthen the racial wealth gap. What do I mean by that? So we're at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to the racial wealth gap. Okay. Now, the way most people get wealthy is not necessarily a job. Now, if you have a high paying job, you can build wealth and create wealth. But most people that create wealth are entrepreneurs. Or they could be a side hustle. They could be in real estate part time and have a full time job. whatever. But entrepreneurship, building equity in something and then being able to pass that equity on to your next generation. And what we're talking about today, guys, is how to solve the black unemployment problem as it pertains to the comments by Dr. George Fraser. The 3 questions I'm asking you today. The first one I just asked you, do you understand the importance of what he's saying? So entrepreneurship is the key. That's the focus of Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, to help you level up your entrepreneur IQ. That's what it's about. I don't care if you have a job and you love a job. You better get a second stream of income. We all saw what happened in the pandemic. We saw what happened in 2007, 2008 in the financial crash. Don't ever let yourself be caught out there with one stream of income. So that's question number 1. Do you understand the importance of what he's saying? The second question I want to ask you is, why don't we help ourselves since we have all the tools at our disposal? Why don't we help ourselves since we have all the tools at our disposal? And here's several points I want to make about this question. This is food for thought. Throughout the years, it's unfortunate, but we've been conditioned to depend on others to survive. And when I say that, I'm talking about a job, a J-O-B. Okay, when did getting a job become the way out? So if you look back at our history in the United States, obviously we were forced here and they transformed us into slaves, and we had to start from the bottom and work our way up. But as you can see, after Reconstruction, when there was no integration, we were able to build our own businesses and be successful. And that went to Black Wall Street and all the other Black Wall Streets in Tulsa, also in Durham, North Carolina, and other enclaves of black entrepreneurship that was super successful all throughout the country. And when did getting a job become the way out? Remember, we used to all take care of ourselves. We used to grow our own food. We used to work on our own farms. We used to sell the other products, and we were self-sufficient. And I always ask the question, when did it become easier to stop being self-sufficient and then go to a factory or a corporation and during the Industrial Revolution or whatever and start getting a paycheck to basically help us survive? When did that transformation take place, when people said, you know what, it's easier to go work for somebody else and be conditioned to get a paycheck versus going out on your own? That was something that I have a conversation about that all the time. When did the paradigm shift from self-sufficiency to going out and getting a job? I think another reason why we don't help ourselves, even though we have all the tools, is we've been brainwashed that our businesses aren't as good as other businesses. You know, you always hear, and I can't stand when I see this on social media. Well, you know, black-owned businesses aren't this, they ain't that. Their prices are too high. They didn't open on time, ba-ba. Now, I get it. If a business is garbage, I don't care who runs it, it's garbage. But don't paint a broad stroke with a brush saying all black-owned businesses are. Because I want you to critique other businesses like you critique us. You're not going in other businesses looking for, yo, man, I got the hookup over here, right? You're not going over there looking for that. So don't come to a black-owned business looking for a hookup or special or anything like that. I want you to be cognizant of how you critique black-owned businesses versus other businesses that you frequent. Okay, now when you go into that Chinese store on the corner and you order whatever Chinese food you're ordering, do they put your money on the counter or do they put it in your hand? Because I guarantee you, if a black-owned business put the money on the counter, you'd be pissed off. But I guarantee you, a lot of you listening right now have gone into other ethnicities' restaurants. You have your hand out for the change and they put it right on that counter. And you don't say a damn thing, and you got your happy ass back there again next week patronizing that restaurant. Now, don't ultra critique black restaurants at a level where you don't critique somebody else. Have you ever gone into another restaurant and they closed early or they didn't open on time? But guess what? You still go back there. I was in college. I went to a McDonald's restaurant right on Broad Street near Temple University one night, and them fools didn't have any meat for hamburgers. All right. This is a multi-billion-dollar international chain. They ran out of meat for hamburgers. Guess what? You think people still went back there the next day? Yeah, we were pissed off because we were hungry, but guess what? We still went back. If that was a black restaurant and that happened to somebody else, oh man, them fools ain't even had meat for hamburgers, and that's what they sell, and you would have not gone back there. And what we're talking about in this question is, why don't we help ourselves since we have all the tools? And the point I'm making here is we've been brainwashed to think that our businesses and our products aren't as good as anybody else's. That's a fallacy. You need to experience the business or the products and then make that determination. Don't paint every black business and every black owned product with a broad brush. Another thing I want to bring out is lack of confidence and limited access to capital on why we don't help ourselves, even though we have most of the tools. So guys, it's easier to make money with money, right? So how many great businesses can you start, or you had an idea, if you had money? You may not know anything about the business, but if you have the money, you can buy the talent, right? If you have the money, you can buy the talent. So lack of confidence. Many times we're so conditioned to getting a paycheck that we don't even believe in ourselves. And so you have to break through that lack of confidence. And the way you do that is you have to go out and start something. It could be something part-time. Get your weight up, right? Get your feet wet. Understand what you're doing, making a little bit of money, and get your confidence up. Now, when it comes to limited access to capital, it's unfortunate, but many times that's what it is. The crazy thing is banks usually give money to people that don't need it, right? Because it's all based on risk. So according to the bank's risk profile, if you've never started a business, you have very limited assets, you don't have collateral, guess what? You're probably not going to get that access to capital via a loan. But if you have capital, if you have resources, if you have collateral, guess what? Most times lenders will give you the money. So why don't we help ourselves since we have all the tools and resources? So when we talk about access to capital, you're going to have to build that up. So entrepreneurship is a great way to build up capital so you can get access to capital. Okay? If you have a business that's throwing off X amount of dollars a month, you have equity in that business and you have cash flow in that business. Now, since you started, and it could be a small business, you started this business, now it's growing, now you have collateral to get access to capital. So don't think you can walk into a bank with an idea like a lot of white folks can and get $1 million. That just doesn't happen for us. So we have to be able to understand that there's a process to get prepared to get access to capital. All right. And one of the things that you can do to learn this is find out, hey, I'm thinking about applying for a business loan for blah, 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 blah. What are the requirements that I need to get this type of loan or apply for this type of loan? So find out what it takes to get that access to capital. And today what we're talking about, guys, is how to solve the black unemployment problem. And we're discussing and dissecting the comments by Dr. George Fraser, where he says within 100 years, we should be able to solve the black unemployment problem just like any other ethnicity by being entrepreneurs and starting our own businesses. Question 1 was, do you understand the importance of what he was saying? Question 2, we just went through, why don't we help ourselves since we have all the tools? And the last question I want to pose to you, what will it take to bring the solution to fruition, and how can you help? What will it take to bring the solution to fruition, and how can you help? So let me give you a couple of pointers on what will it take to bring the solution to fruition, and how can you help? Guys, a concerted effort that starts in your home with you and your children is the foundation. That's the first part. It starts with you individually. What are you going to do about the situation? And then you teach your children. You teach them the importance of entrepreneurship. Okay. Now, you may not have an entrepreneurial bone in your body, and you may be a civilian, and there's nothing wrong with that. And when I say civilian, I just mean somebody that's in corporate America and has no ideas of even thinking about entrepreneurship. I don't know if you be listening to this show, though, if you didn't have some interest in entrepreneurship. So a concerted effort that starts in your home with you and your children. You know, kids, they do what you say, but they really look at you and they do what you do. So if you're an entrepreneur, then obviously involve your children in the business, obviously when they get to a right age. Teach them the importance of entrepreneurship and how that entrepreneurship can build economic wealth and generational wealth. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, if you aren't an entrepreneur, then you can still get them books. You can hook them up and connect them with entrepreneurs in your family, or get them into entrepreneurial programs at school. But the sooner that you expose them to this, the better off you'll be. And I've told this story before, and I'm going to keep it abbreviated. But years ago, when my daughters were 10 and 7, they started wanting all of these high-end, not high-end, but they wanted Uggs and all these other clothes with brand names on it. So before that, brand names didn't matter. Anything dad bought home, they were cool with. But then when Uggs came out and everybody's wearing, well, we want Uggs, we want this, that, and I'm like, all right, whatever. But you're going to have to learn how to work for it. So there's a minor league baseball team right outside of Philadelphia. And so I said, let me see if I can find an opportunity to be able to help my kids learn how to create their own money. And so I went to them and I asked them if they sold water ice. Now, water ice in Philly is probably called Italian ice in New York, and in different places it probably has other names. But all it is ice that's flavored. Okay, not shaved ice, it's water ice. It's all mixed together. It's not ice where a flavor is poured on it. It's mixed together in a mixer. So it's called water ice. So anyway, the company said, no, we don't have anything like that. That would probably be a great idea. You know, hey, let's sign the contract. So I went and spent $7,000 on a cold cart, which is a cart you can plug in overnight and unplug it, and it would stay cold for 24 hours. I got it wrapped. I got the umbrella, everything looking nice. And it's AJ's world famous water ice, named after my son. And so one of the things is, what we did was we decided that we were going to take 10% of our proceeds and donate to the National Children's Cancer Society. So if you haven't heard the story, my son, I have my 2 daughters and my son, but I lost my son to brain cancer at 17 months old, and he's my youngest. And so we wanted to do something, not just to make money, but to also give back. So I wanted to teach them a dual lesson, how to create money, but also to be of service and to help others. Long story short, we had 41 home games. Now, mind you, I'm running my businesses, and this was during the spring and the summer, and my kids were in school during the spring, and obviously they were out during the summer. But I made them commit, if we do this, I'm not doing this for my money. I'm doing it, to help you guys and educate you on what entrepreneurship is and how you can create your own money. So we got out there, and we did great that first year. I think we did about $30-something thousand in pocket. And the first thing I did was I told them we got to pay back the loan for the cart. That was $7,000. All right. After we paid that back, we split the profits 50-50. 50% me, 25% each of them, each of my girls. Now, out of the money that they got, they had to save 50%, and then they could actually spend the other 50% that they each had. So I taught them how to create money out of nothing. Okay. So that was all it was a phone call, and then putting everything in the plan, the execution of it. We were so good, and they loved us so much. The actual concessions management company also worked for the DC United soccer league in DC, and they were like, hey, can you guys get a cart out there? So I went and bought another cart. I got my buddy and his daughter. They came in with us because we had to many times be at both locations. It would be the same day, and we did that for 2 years. Second year in, we grossed over or netted over $70,000, and then they got a little bit older, and I couldn't keep up the pace because my business was growing, but the experience was amazing. So I was able to have a concerted effort and not just tell my kids about entrepreneurship, but they were able to go in and do it and work and see what we could create. And the beauty of it was many nights we grossed a couple $1,000s, and I would let them count the money. And that way they could see, to them, that was a whole lot of money in one night, but it let them understand what is possible. So they counted the money, they checked the ledger, they did the inventory, and they learned how to run a business at that young age. And so I just want you guys to understand these are the things. This is a concerted effort that starts in your home with you and your children. So you got to teach them the importance of entrepreneurship. And what we're talking about now is question number 3. What will it take to bring the solution to fruition and how you can help? Point number 2 under this topic is don't let the school system be the only educator for your children. Please do not let the school system be the only educator for your children. Teach them the greatness that lies within us, guys, with our ancestors, how we overcame our struggle here in the United States and throughout the world. So many times I hear parents talk about, oh, they're not teaching Black history. Guess what? That's your job, because you know they're not going to teach us what they don't want us to know. They have this critical race theory going on right now. Yes, we fight for it in the schools. We want that education for everybody. We learn about other ethnicities, other atrocities, the Holocaust and all other things, but they want to obviously cover up whitewash history. But it is our job as parents to educate our children, not the schools. The schools are the secondary form of education. And I'm not talking about standard education. I'm talking about how to live. You also want to teach them math, science, or whatever, if you're good at, and help them out with that. But get them books about Black history. Teach them things that you know and you understand. Talk to them. You know, sit down and have serious conversations with your kids. All right, don't let them just sit behind in front of a TV screen with a controller playing video games and all of that. Our job is to educate our kids. We are the primary educator of our children. Don't ever forget that. And the last point I want to make on how we're going to bring this to fruition, it's got to start off as a grassroots movement. Then we'll take it national. Then we need a global groundswell for Black economic empowerment, along with a plan, guys, to galvanize our resources. So it starts at the home, then it moves out grassroots, national, and hopefully globally. I hope some people of influence that are listening to this can really get behind entrepreneurship in the Black community and how it can impact us in terms of unemployment, but not just that, how it can help close the racial wealth gap. Before we get to the last portion of the show, I just want to share all my social media contact information and resource links, and I'm going to keep it super simple. Everything I talked about is on the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. You can find BEB Academy on the website. I talked about Brand Builder Academy Elite. If you're interested in building a successful, sustainable e-commerce business, go to the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Now, remember to use the coupon code HOLIDAY, all lower cases. That's going to take the investment from $497 down to $97. I only have 5 coupons left. So if you're interested in building an e-commerce business to create passive income, this is for you. Also on the top of the website, you'll see my other pound for pound program, Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. And your genius is the intersection of your passion and your talent. The problem is most people don't know how to monetize it. So if you're trying to live in your genius, definitely check out that program. Click the link and watch the short video. Now, if you want to connect with me, guys, anything long, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, JAYJONES@blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, Twitter, jjones001, JAYJONES001. Instagram, I got 2 IG accounts. First one is jjones for real, JAYJONES, the number 4, REAL. Second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Also, don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn, type in J Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Connect with me there. Also, YouTube, guys, I have additional content on YouTube that is not on the show. So, yes, the show comes out on YouTube every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and all your major podcast platforms. So make sure wherever you're listening or watching to this, subscribe so you can get the updates. So YouTube guys, go to YouTube, type in Black Entrepreneur Blueprint and hit that subscribe button. Remember, everything is on the website. Go to blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. If you want my social media contact information on there, hit the About button. Under my bio, you'll see links to all my social media. All the programs I talked about, just go to the website and everything is there. And make sure you use the website because we have all types of resources, online courses, downloads, PDFs, everything to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. We want Black Entrepreneur Blueprint to be the resource for Black entrepreneurs worldwide. Now, let's get back to the last portion of the show. Today, we're talking about how to solve the Black unemployment problem. And we're using an excerpt from Dr. George Fraser as he talks about entrepreneurship and being able to close that unemployment gap within 100 years. And how's that going to happen, guys? It's going to take us, and it starts at the home. You know, I created a T-shirt about a year ago that I've been selling on the website. I got to put it back up. But to me, here's the key. It's dedicate to educate, to aggregate, to elevate, to liberate. And that's what my T-shirt says, and it has a black fist on it. And I'm going to break these down. Dedicate to educate, to aggregate, to elevate, to liberate. So you have to dedicate yourself. Dedicate means commitment and time, right? Dedicate yourself to educate yourself. Not just yourself, but actually yourself and your children and your network. So dedicate to educate. And the way you educate others is you have to study. You have to learn. In order to be a teacher, you have to be a student, right? You can't be a master teacher without becoming a master student. So dedicate to educate yourself. Then you need to aggregate. That's the problem with us Black folk right now. We have all types of resources. What is it, $1.2 billion a year, whatever comes in our Black folk hands just in the U.S. But those funds and resources aren't aggregated. We're so busy trying to give that money to some other ethnicity that we don't even hold a dollar in our hand. It only circulates in the Black community in less than 6 hours. It's out of our community. Okay, dedicate to educate, to aggregate, to come together, collaborate, okay? Work with each other, support and buy from each other's businesses, use each other's services, find a Black CPA, a Black doctor, a Black lawyer, you know, a Black professional, a Black service professional, a Black electrician, Black carpenter, Black plumber. Try to use Black owned businesses. And I get it. If they're garbage, then number one, don't just talk trash about them. Say, yo, brother, yo, sister, this is why I'm not using you. And you want to give them some feedback, right? Constructive criticism to help them improve their business, not get online and talk trash and demean somebody that's trying to do something. So dedicate to educate, to aggregate, to elevate. When we aggregate, we're going to elevate. What does it say? The high tide raises all boats, right? Raises all ships. So we need to aggregate to elevate, helping ourselves. So when we circulate those dollars in the Black community, then guess what? It's helping our own community. So when you go and buy from these other ethnic stores that may have a store on the corner in your neighborhood, are they supporting the neighborhood? Are you supporting Black families, or are you supporting the owners of that business? So when you go into the Indian store over there and you buy whatever, you know, you're getting for dinner, I guarantee you they're not supporting the Black community. They're extracting money from the community and taking it back to their house in their community. Okay, you go to the Asian, the Chinese store. They're not supporting the Black community. They are extracting money from the Black community and putting it in their family and also their community's pockets. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's called commerce. But we're the only idiots that lets everybody else come in and take money or extract money from our community. And then you got to complain about it when all you need to do is start building businesses in our own community. Don't let me get off track here. Dedicate to educate, to aggregate, to elevate. And the last thing is to liberate, right? We do all of this. It's called liberation. I have a t-shirt and I say it all the time. There's no revolution without economics. You have to liberate yourselves. Nobody is coming to save us. Nobody's going to knock on the door. Yo, we're here to save you. That ain't going to happen. All right. We have to save ourselves. And the beauty of it is, guys, we have everything we need for this process. As Dr. George Fraser said, if we focus on entrepreneurship, hiring our own, within 100 years, we can reduce that unemployment problem down to nothing. And even greater than that, we can decrease that racial wealth gap. You see, we're living right now in somebody else's society. We're over here fighting for jobs that most of these companies don't even really want you to have, but they have to because they're federal mandates on employment and hiring. But if you really look at it, how many of you who are listening right now are working for somebody and you have a boss or supervisor that you know only got their position because of what they look like and who they are and who they know, when you're more qualified for a position, but somebody else gets it? There's a thing called the glass ceiling, and that's real. That glass ceiling is for ethnicities. It's for, unfortunately, for women, and it's for others. And that glass ceiling is something that's put there so the good old boys can stay in control of everything. So entrepreneurship, guys, in the black community is a key to many things: reducing unemployment, reducing the racial wealth gap. And we have to take it seriously. And it all starts with you. Don't wait for somebody else to do something. What can you do? And it starts with you in your own home, with your own children, and then within your community, your network, your church, or whatever. It's all about economic empowerment. Listen to me, family. There is no revolution without economics. Economics controls politics. Politicians control policy. Economics controls media, which controls the narratives, what people think. And that's super important. It's just like Hitler when he was acting a fool over there in Germany, exterminating Jews. He had to dehumanize them first. And he did that through media. He actually contracted out with a manufacturer to manufacture radios that he gave to households for free so he could get his message of hate out, so he could help exterminate the Jews. So economics controls not just politics and policies, it controls media and narratives. It controls education. It controls healthcare. All critical things that we need to live in a balanced society. And we have everything we need right now to be able to accomplish what we need to cut down unemployment in our black community and to close the racial wealth gap. Nobody's coming to help you, family. No, I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, Christian, agnostic, Buddhist, whatever, Muslim. It's got to start at home. It's got to start at home. And you need to take it seriously, because that's how we're going to increase our position on the totem pole. Right now, we're on the bottom, dead last. And the only way we're going to get up, guys, is working together. Dedicate to educate, to aggregate, to elevate, to liberate. Now, I say this each and every week because it's true. We get more and more downloads because of you, the BEB family. I appreciate you guys so much. Please continue to spread the word about the podcast, the blog, and the website. We have all types of resources on the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com. Make sure you share that information, and also the ecosystem with the online courses that I mentioned. Everything designed to help you elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Remember, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide black community by building and supporting black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.